Hi, Miss Whitted. Okay, this is my dramatic monologue for Grete, which is Gregor's sister, and this is her reaction to chapter 3. Okay. Right now, I am ecstatic because I finally have the opportunity to play my violin for other people and impress my mother and father, something I've never been able to accomplish. As I set my stand in front of the boarders, the nerves come trickling in, and I become more anxious to play with every ticking second. Right before I play, I remember these 3 words that Gregor used to tell me before he transformed into a disgusting bug. Relax, breathe, and play. As I begin to play, the boarders seem to be overly interested and joyful, which gives me a very confident and sentimental feeling. Even my parents seem thrilled, but this makes me wonder. Are they happy that I'm finally happy? Or are they happy that I'm entertaining the boarders? Anyway, after a while, I see the boarders move to the window to look out. They clearly look uninterested and bored, but I guess they're too polite to admit it. As I continued to play, I suddenly heard a crashing sound. As a natural reaction, I looked over my shoulder and saw a horrendous-looking monster standing in the doorway. You would think that I would be used to seeing Gregor, but I still get that queasy feeling every time he comes into my sight. I continued playing to distract the boarders from Gregor, but my efforts failed. They eventually saw him and began to go crazy. Although my father tried his hardest to move the boarders to a different room, they fought back to get a good glimpse at that horrifying bug living in our house. During this commotion, I stood at my stand furious. How dare Gregor ruin my one night of fame, I thought. This was my one chance of making my parents happy and my one night to be the center of attention. He knows how much I go unnoticed by my family, but he still ruined my one chance of attention. I hate him. I hate him so much. I clearly am the only one in my family who truly cared for Gregor. My parents never cared for him after his transformation, and I'm the only one who can barely tolerate him. The least he could do was give me this one night to show off my talent. But no. Now my parents will never know how talented and helpful I am. Ever since his transformation, a bitter seed has been planted inside of me because I have to work, my parents have to work, and our lives have become a living hell. Every time I see Gregor, the seed grows a little bigger and moves a little deeper inside me. Now, this seed has blossomed into a gigantic, ugly, annoying weed, and I've had it. I knew I had to destroy this weed by telling my parents my feelings for Gregor. Tonight, after dinner, I will make the big announcement that will probably destroy this family. After dinner, I sat my parents down for the talk that would change our lives forever. My dear parents, I said, things can't go on like this. Maybe you don't realize it, but I do. I refuse to pronounce my brother's name in front of this monstrosity, and so I say, we have to get rid of it. We've done everything humanly possible to care for it and tolerate it. I don't believe anyone could reproach us. There, I said it, and I would not take it back. My parents actually agreed with me. This was something I wanted, but had not expected. In a secret way, I hoped they would resist and tell me I'm crazy and that Gregor was a part of the family, but they agreed. The overwhelming emotions of pain and anger caused me to run to my mother for support. When we heard the news about Gregor's death the next morning, my dad was very happy that his burden was lifted. My mother became a wreck, and I actually regretted my feelings of hatred for Gregor. He was my brother after all, and in reality, I loved him his entire life, even after the transformation. After all, he was my best friend, and I loved him with all of my heart. I made a vow to myself that I would remember Gregor in his human state. I would remember what a hard worker he was, his caring and passionate personality, and his attitude of putting other people's needs in front of his own. I love my brother inside and out, no matter what he looks like. Later that day, as my family and I were mourning, we decided that the best thing to do was to get out of the house for a while. We decided to go on a trolley ride. My parents then did something very odd. They actually noticed me for me. And they noticed my looks and my hidden personality. And although I do feel bitter and melancholy about the circumstances, I realized that it took Gregor's death to make me noticeable to my parents. I think Gregor wanted things to end this way, because I know that he shared the same love for me. Gregor the bug will always be remembered in my heart.